The Bears are looking for redemption. After a brutal collapse at home against Minnesota, all eyes now turn to Ford Field, where a fired-up Detroit Lions team awaits. It's a must-win situation, or at least as close to one as you can get in Week 2. Because let's be real, falling to 0-2 in a division as competitive as the NFC North, that's a deep hole to climb out of. And yet, there's a real chance for the Bears to turn the tide. Not just because they're desperate, but because the Lions might be vulnerable at just the right time. They looked out of sorts in their opening loss to the Packers, getting dismantled from start to finish. Jared Goff couldn't get into rhythm. Their offensive line looked shaky. And without Ben Johnson calling plays for them anymore, there was a noticeable drop in creativity. Green Bay punched them in the mouth, and they never responded. A garbage-time touchdown was the only thing that kept them from total embarrassment. For the Bears, though, it's not like they've got much to brag about either. That Week 1 loss was a gut punch. They had multiple chances to put Minnesota away, to create a 2- or 3-score cushion, and every time they came up short. Missed opportunities, shaky execution, and a fourth quarter where they just got steamrolled. It was a game that could have set the tone for the season. Instead, it exposed the exact kind of immaturity and lack of polish that comes with a young quarterback and a new coaching staff still finding its footing. But the vibes around Hallis Hall have shifted. This team isn't dwelling on the past. The locker room's already looking ahead, and Detroit is the new mission. If the Bears can steal a win on the road, they'll be back at 1-1 with a chance to start building momentum. It's not just about the record. It's about belief. It's about Caleb Williams taking a step forward. It's about proving that this team can finish games, not just flash potential for 3 quarters and collapse when it counts. Now, if you're watching this game, there are a few storylines you can't ignore. The Ben Johnson factor is massive. His return to Detroit as the Bears' new head coach adds a whole other level of intensity. The Lions haven't forgotten. AMON-RA, St. Brown, made it clear. They're booing him the second he steps onto that field. Not because they hate him, but because he left, because he stayed in the division, because they feel like he betrayed the brotherhood that Dan Campbell built. You better believe the crowd's going to be fired up. Ford Field has quietly turned into one of the loudest and most hostile environments in the league. It'll be rocking on Sunday. Ben's been pretty calm about it publicly. He says his mind is on the game, on getting this team their first win, on seeing how his group responds in the face of pressure. And to be fair, he's right. We're about to learn a lot about this team. Not just the talent, the mental toughness, the ability to adapt and correct mistakes in real time. The game plan will matter, but so will the grit. Injury-wise, the Bears are still banged up. Kyler Gordon and Grady Jarrett haven't practiced this week. That's a big blow on defense, especially if neither one can go. Roscoe Johnson was limited with a foot issue. TJ Edwards is dealing with a hamstring. And while there's some optimism that DJ Moore and Jalen Johnson will be ready, nothing is guaranteed until those final inactives drop on Sunday. It's going to be a test of depth, a test of how well this coaching staff can adjust when key pieces are either limited or out completely. For Detroit, all eyes are on Taylor Decker. He hasn't practiced with that shoulder injury, but the team expects him to play. Jack Campbell, Terrion Arnold, and Daniel Thomas all practiced in full by Thursday, so it looks like the Lions are relatively healthy outside of that. And with that extra motivation to beat their former coordinator, don't expect them to come out flat again like they did against Green Bay. So what does that leave us? The Lions are 5.5-point favorites, and honestly, it makes sense. Dan Campbell is an established head coach. He's got the pedigree now. 15 wins last season, a trip to the NFC Championship, and a culture that's completely transformed that franchise. Ben Johnson, for all his upside, is coaching his second game. That matters. Goff might not be elite, but he's stable. He's experienced. And on paper, Detroit has the better roster. But this isn't just about paper. It's about the matchups. And there are a few areas where the Bears can absolutely hang. The skill positions? It's close. Detroit's got a great duo in St. Brown and Jameson Williams, but Chicago's got depth with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Zay Jones. Throw in 2 reliable tight ends and a backfield that, if healthy, can get going, and it's not like this team is outgunned. Same thing with the offensive line. Detroit's got talent, but they looked beatable in Week 1. If Chicago's front five can hold up, especially against Hutchinson and the edges, they'll have a real shot to control tempo. Defensively, it's the trenches that will decide everything. If the Bears can replicate what Green Bay did, stuff the run, force Goff off a spot, they'll be in it. He's not a mobile guy. You make a move, he gets rattled. Javon Dexter flashed last week. Montez Sweat looked explosive. But Andrew Billings has to step up. If the interior can collapse the pocket and contain Gibbs and Montgomery, it changes everything. Then there's Caleb. The kid is still learning, no doubt. But the talent is undeniable. He started 10 for 10 in Week 1 and then just fell off. 11 for his last 25. A lot of it is footwork, timing, trust in the system. You expect that early in a rookie year, but at some point, he's got to take that next step. The accuracy has to improve. The decision-making has to be quicker. No one's asking him to be Joe Burrow, but 55 or 60% completions should be the baseline. You're not going to win games with 20 incompletions and multiple overthrows on third down. That said, some of the blame falls on coaching, too. The offensive structure has to help him. The Bears can't afford to abandon the run after 1 or 2 failed carries. They were dead last in success rate on the ground in Week 1. That has to change. Get Swift going. Mix in Kyle Madungai, as Ben Johnson hinted this week. Take the pressure off Caleb and let the run game open things up for play action and quick hitters. And please, for the love of football, minimize the penalties. The pre-snap mistakes last week were brutal. 4 false starts in the first half. A motion penalty on a key third down late in the game. You can't shoot yourself in the foot that many times and expect to win, especially on the road, in a loud dome, against a motivated opponent. If that means simplifying the play calls or adjusting the cadence, so be it. This team needs clean execution, not more chaos. It means the Bears have a real shot, but only if they clean up the mental errors, run the football, and play sound defense up front. It means Caleb Williams has a chance to prove he's not just hype, but the real deal, capable of leading a bounce-back performance against a tough team. It means Ben Johnson returns to Detroit not just with memories, but with a plan to out-scheme his old squad and show them that the Bears are on the rise. The chess match in this game will come down to execution and scheming. That's where the Bears need to shine, especially because they're still developing in so many key areas. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Lions are deeper and more experienced. But experience isn't everything, not when you're facing a team that can outthink you. And that's the edge Chicago needs to lean into. Ben Johnson might only be coaching his second NFL game, but when it comes to designing plays and building mismatches, he's one of the most creative offensive minds in the league. That's what got him the job in Chicago in the first place. And that's what gives the Bears a legitimate chance to pull off an upset, even on the road. If this team wants to win, it has to start with how they use Caleb Williams. Last week, the game plan asked him to do a little too much with too little support. He's not there yet. He has all the tools, arm talent, poise, athleticism, but right now he's learning how to tie it all together at the pro level. He missed too many routine throws, especially when the pocket was clean. That's not just about nerves or pressure. That's about mechanics and fundamentals. He and Johnson both admitted it this week. His footwork broke down on several of those misses. And when your feet aren't right, your throws will sail or die on you. It's fixable, but only with reps, patience, and a better game plan. The best way to help a young quarterback? A reliable running game. And that's where the Bears failed the most in Week 1. The offensive line didn't generate much push, and DeAndre Swift had nowhere to go. They finished dead last in the league in run success rate. That's unacceptable, especially when your quarterback is still finding his rhythm. The run game needs to set the tone, not be an afterthought. If Roscoe Johnson is healthy, he should absolutely be part of the rotation. And the same goes for Kyle Madungai, who could give them some downhill burst that was missing last week. But it's not just about personnel, it's about commitment. Johnson has to be more patient with the ground game. Even if it doesn't work early, you have to stick with it long enough to give it a chance to wear down a defense. That balance is what allows play action to work, what opens up throwing lanes for Caleb, and what slows down a pass rush that will be licking its chops. Speaking of pass rush, the Lions are going to bring it. Aiden Hutchinson is the real deal. and Chicago's tackles will have their hands full trying to contain him. That's why interior protection becomes even more critical. If the middle of the line collapses, Caleb is going to struggle. He's not afraid to take hits, but too much interior pressure will speed up his clock and throw off everything. Detroit struggled in the trenches last week on both sides of the ball, especially on the interior of their offensive line. Green Bay was able to expose that. Now it's up to Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings to do the same. Dexter showed flashes, but Billings has to be better. He got pushed around too easily in Week 1, and if that continues, it'll be a long day. Grady Jarrett's status matters here too. If he's out, the rotation gets even thinner. The Bears need to win that battle in the trenches, especially on early downs, to put Goff in predictable passing situations. Because when Jared Goff is off script, he's beatable. He's not going to create outside the pocket. If you can force him to move his feet to throw off balance, he becomes a very average quarterback. But that's only possible if the pass rush gets home and the coverage holds up long enough to force hesitation. That's where the health of the secondary becomes critical. If Jalen Johnson plays, it changes things. He can lock down one side of the field and allow the defense to rotate coverage where needed. But without Kyler Gordon, the nickel spot becomes a real question mark. Josh Blackwell might step in, and while he's serviceable, it's still a downgrade. If Detroit goes heavy with 3 or 4 wide, and if St. Brown gets matched up on a backup, it could be a long afternoon. That's why the Bears need to generate pressure quickly to protect the secondary from having to cover for more than 3 seconds. Now, let's talk about discipline. The Bears hurt themselves over and over last week with penalties, especially pre-snap. False starts, illegal motions, just sloppy football that kills drives before they even get started. That can't happen again, especially not on the road in one of the loudest stadiums in the league. Ford Field is going to be electric, and the Bears are going to have to use a silent count for most of the game. That means more pressure on the offensive line and receivers to get their timing right. No excuses. If they want to be taken seriously, they need to play clean football. That means smarter play calling, simpler formations when needed, and better communication across the board. This is also a game where Ben Johnson has to dig into his bag of tricks. Detroit's coaching staff is new at the coordinator spots. John Morton on offense and Kelvin Shepard on defense. That matters. These guys are still getting their bearings, and Week 1 showed that. The Lions looked flat, predictable, and at times overwhelmed. If Ben can create some early mismatches, use motion to identify coverages, and isolate favorable matchups, the Bears can exploit those soft spots. Whether that's DJ Moore in the slot, Romo Duns on a deep shot, or Cole Kmet working the seams, the opportunities will be there. But they have to be aggressive. Last week felt cautious, understandable in a debut, but this week has to be different. They need to throw the first punch. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves across the NFL landscape, the Chicago Bears are reportedly set to secure one of the league's most coveted wide receivers, AMON-RA St. Brown, on a 3-year deal. Sources close to the situation suggest that negotiations moved quickly in recent days, catching fans and analysts alike by surprise. The Bears, long criticized for their inconsistent passing game, seem poised to make a bold statement that they intend to reshape their offensive identity in a hurry. St. Brown, known for his precise route running, remarkable hands, and consistency at the highest level, has been a target of speculation for months. Rumors had linked him to several teams with cap space and a pressing need for a true number 1 receiver, but few expected Chicago to emerge as the frontrunner. The alleged deal, spanning 3 seasons, would not only provide the Bears with a dynamic weapon, but could also signal a larger strategic overhaul under their current front office. Insiders suggest that the signing could change the trajectory of quarterback Justin Fields' development. With a reliable receiver stretching the field, Fields might finally see defenses forced to respect the deep ball, opening lanes for the running game, and shorter passing options. Fans have already taken to social media, sharing a mix of excitement, disbelief, and cautious optimism. If this actually happens, we might finally have the offense we've been dreaming of, one Bears supporter tweeted, capturing the mood of the fan base, starved for consistent fireworks. Of course, as with all rumors, caution is advised. No official announcement has been made, and details regarding the financial terms or possible incentives remain murky. Still, the chatter around league circles is loud, painting a picture of a team willing to bet big on immediate impact. Should this deal come to fruition, Chicago could suddenly find itself in the conversation as a playoff contender, or, at the very least, a team that refuses to be overlooked in 2025. As the NFL world watches, one thing is certain. The Bears have sparked a frenzy, and if AMON-RA St. Brown indeed dons navy and orange for the next 3 seasons, the ripple effects across the league will be impossible to ignore. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.